Right, here we go with our frame, and I'm using oatmeal for mine. You can use obviously any colour you like, and we're going to be starting behind the largest petal. If I fold that forward, you'll remember we made those 3 little double crochet there into the loop behind there, and that's where we're going to start. We're going to join our frame yarn into the first of those 3 double crochet, and that's just joining it, doesn't count as a stitch, and we'll put our first double crochet into the same stitch. And UK terminology, so we'll put 1 into the next 2, and we'll fill up that next chain with 5 double crochet. Okay, this bit I love, it's very clever. We're going to be working behind the leaf, and we will make 3 chain to get us there. And we're working from the front still, so what I like to do, it makes it a little bit easier, is to bend that leaf forward, and then I've got easy access to the stitches, but I'm still sort of orientating my stitch in the correct way. What I'm looking for here is the stitch that is exposed, that we didn't work into on the outer rim of those large petals, that's what they are, those large petals. In my case that's copper, and I want to work into the back loop only of that stitch. It's not been worked at all, so it should be fine for you to just find the back loop only and work in there. And I'm going to put 1 treble in there, 3 chain and 1 treble, and what that creates, so it's 1 treble, 3 chain, 1 treble. What that creates is such a good and secure sort of corner space to build on. If I show you from the back, you'll see we've created this lovely little triangle there. Right, that is one of my favourite things. That could be just me. Right, so 3 chain again, and we'll put 5 double crochet into this next chain along. And what that will do is bring us right back to the beginning of our repeat. Okay, so you can see when I fold forward there, I've got those 3 double crochet exposed, ready to start again. So I will go round and finish that. Okay, I'm just putting the last 5 double crochet into the last chain space, and I will slip stitch to join. We're not fastening off because we're going to continue with this yarn. Let's have a look. My poor scrunched up motif. Right, so at this point we can't really see too much from the front, but it's all going on at the back. Let's have a look. So you can see we've created our first sort of circle of foundation for our frame, and those lovely little triangles we've made at the corner. It's so elegant. I absolutely love that, which will help really pull this into a square and just keep things nice and secure, but without distorting anything. So that is what's so brilliant about it. That's our first and very important round of our frame. Let's move on to round 12. Okay, I admit 12 is going to take a bit of concentration, but we'll work through it slowly and carefully together. So we'll make 1 chain to start. That's not going to count as your first stitch, that's just getting us up to the height of the round. We're going straight in with something which is a tiny bit tricky but achievable, and I know this because I've just done it. And we're working a stitch around the back post of the center stitch of those 3 double crochets we made at the top of this petal. So it's the copper round, and because they're such short stitches, the easiest way I found to do that is to come in under the first stitch, or under the stitch which is sort of to the above the post, and from the back to the front, and then under the next stitch from the front to the back, pull through and complete your double crochet. And what that does is that just puts that stitch behind the post, so you can't really see it. Let me show you that one more time. They're very, very short stitches, so if you've, like me, pulled them to within an inch of their lives, this is a bit tricky. So I've got my hook. I'm going to come from the back to the front under that stitch there, which sits to the right of the post of the stitch that we're trying to work around, and then we're going to go from the front to the back under the next stitch, which will sit to the left of that post. I will pull my yarn through both. I've got 2 loops on the hook, and we'll finish that off there. Okay. Right, so that's the trickiest part, actually. That is the trickiest part. So give that a practice and take it nice and slowly. The next thing, which may need a little bit of concentration, is skipping the next stitch, would you believe? I'm speaking from a position of not particularly strong eyesight, but if you pull your work forward, you will be able to see where your yarn, which stitch your yarn is coming out of, and you're going to miss the next stitch along and work into the one after. All right, and we're going to make 4 double crochet. Okay, 1 half treble into the next stitch, 1 half treble into the next stitch, and now we're going to put 3 treble into the next chain space. 1, 2, and 3. Right, at this point we're going to start joining in our leaf. Our leaf is going to start making its way into our frame, and we need to sort of count where we start these stitches. So we're going to skip the double crochet, skip the 2 double trebles, skip the treble, and we will start working into the back loop only here to join our leaf into our frame. So we're going to make half treble. So I've started with my yarn around my hook, back loop only of that stitch, back loop only, half treble of the next stitch, back loop only, double crochet for the next 2, 1, back loop only, 2. We're going to make 2 chain, 1, 2, and miss that picot at the top there. We're not going to do anything with that just at the moment. I'm turning my work because I'm now going to come down the other side of the leaf. Okay. I can't get hold of that. There we go. We will now do the same again. So skipping that picot, I'm going to put 1 double crochet into the back loop of the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 half treble into the back loop of the next stitch, 1 half treble into the back loop of the next stitch. And those are all of the stitches we're going to make into the leaf for now. So let me, all for good, I think, actually. So I'll take out that little picot. We're not going to be using that, but it needs to sit nice at the front. And so we are now going to go back and make treble, 3 treble into that chain space. You can see we're sort of mirroring what we did on the other side, aren't we? 1, 2, and 3. Whoops. Skip the first stitch, half treble into the next 2, 1 and 2, and 1 double into the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and now we're back to the point where we're going to make that double around the back loop of this double crochet at the center of these 3 stitches at the top of our petal. So back to where we started, and that really, it isn't. I personally think this is a round that you have to really focus on. Could just be me, but this isn't one that I'm going to be watching Bridgerton and doing. Let's just put it that way. All right, so slow and steady wins the race, and do not worry. I've had to, you can probably tell by the empty loops, I've had to take mine back more than once. But we get there, don't we? We get there in the end. So I'm going to work my way very carefully around this part of my frame, and I will show you it when it's finished. Finishing up now. How are you doing with this one? I've probably made it sound a lot worse or a lot harder than it is. It's just a bit of concentration, which is not my strong point. And I wanted to say at this point, there is real merit in working in a production line method, way, in that if you if you wanted to make sort of several of this motif or several of any of the motifs, if you get all of them to the same point, you've really only had to learn a complicated round. If you feel that this is complicated, you've only had to learn that once, because for my part, whilst by the time I got to kind of the third side, it had clicked and I could do that without referring back to the pattern. So rather than having to remember that all over again when I get to this point with my following blocks, if they were all at this stage, I would find it much easier to complete this round one after another. So there is a big reason to consider working in a production line method, which I confess I don't do, but I think I ought to start doing. Right, so I've got back to the beginning of the round now, and as I said, it's not complicated. These are all stitches we all know. We all know doubles and half trebles and trebles. It's just being very careful about where you place them to give you the best result, really. And once you have done that, it just looks beautiful, doesn't it? Let's look at the reverse of the work to see what's happening there. And you can see we're getting that much more defined square shape now. We've definitely moved away from the circular and we're into the defined square by virtue of using those different sized stitches as we work round. So hopefully that's okay for you and you're ready to move on to the next round. Right, so on round 13, we are almost exclusively double crochet. Not quite yet, but almost exclusively. So let's make a start. We start with a nice run of 13 double crochet along the edge here. 12 and 13. Okay, we've now reached that little 2 chain space that we made on the previous round. We'll put 1 half treble into that. And we're now going to make a treble, but we're going to go through the picot as well as that chain space. So get your yarn ready for a treble, and it's going to work into that little tiny picot and through the chain space at the same time. All right, so that's now joined that nice and neatly. And we'll finish this little corner by putting another half treble just through the little chain space. So it can be tricky to see because you've sort of almost filled that up, but into that same chain space at the corner. Okay, and that will make our corner nice and neat. And now, wonderfully, we've just got 26 double crochet across the edge, and we'll do that at each corner. So that's the only twiddly bit there. Hopefully that's okay for you and you can complete this round. Our final round of the frame, round 14, is just a double crochet all the way around until your corner stitch, and your corner stitch is 1 half treble, 1 treble, 1 half treble just into the corner stitch. So it's not a complicated round, so we've not filmed that one. And so once you've fastened off and sewn in your ends, this is how it will look. Let's look at the back. Nice and neat on the back, but you can see you've worked so hard to get here because there's an awful lot of engineering and work that's got to the point to make it so pretty from the front. Now this one has been blocked, I confess, so it will look, when you block your motifs, they look nice and flat and all the stitches are nice and even, and you will be able to manipulate the edges to get them as straight as you possibly can. But that is the end of our very beautiful Tudor rose, and I think at this point I just want to show you them in some other colourways because they're so pretty. And all of these versions are actually made with the original colour pack, but just in different orders. So these colours are all included in the colour pack if you chose to go that way, all included, but we've just used different colours for different rounds, and they just look stunning. I do love this, but this one is my favourite. Thanks for sitting through Tudor Rose with me. I hope that helped you.